There are so many things that are happening right now.
The Golden Gate of Jerusalem has always been more than just stone and mortar. For centuries, its sealed archways have stood as a silent testimony to prophecy, a doorway that refuses to open until the moment destiny itself commands it. You can walk along the walls of Jerusalem, pass through gates bustling with tourists and locals alike, and hear the noise of a city alive with history and tension. But when you stand before the Eastern Gate, also known as the Golden Gate, you feel something different. You feel the weight of silence, the pressure of centuries, and the undeniable sense that you are standing before something meant to wait for one singular event in all of human history. And now, whispers are rising again that this gate, sealed for nearly 500 years, may be stirring from within, and that realization has set hearts racing across the world. The story of this gate does not begin in politics, and it does not end with archaeology. It is not just about rulers who feared it, or soldiers who hesitated before it. It is about a promise that runs deeper than any empire, a thread of prophecy stretching back thousands of years, written in the scriptures of both Jews and Christians. Ezekiel, standing centuries before Christ, wrote that the gate facing east would be shut, and no one would enter by it, because the Lord had already passed through. That vision alone has haunted rulers and believers ever since. Christians look at that gate and remember Palm Sunday, when Jesus entered Jerusalem from the Mount of Olives, riding humbly on a donkey, greeted with shouts of Hosanna and palm branches waving in the air. They believe he passed through that very gate, fulfilling prophecy once, and that he will pass through again this time, not as a servant, but as King of Kings. Jewish tradition, too, teaches that the Messiah will come through this gate to restore the kingdom. Two different traditions, one gate and one destiny. But history, as always, tried to interfere. In 1541, the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman, the Magnificent, ordered the Golden Gate sealed shut. Thick limestone blocks were stacked into its arches, locking its doors in place. And to make the prophecy even harder to fulfill, a cemetery was placed directly in front of it, rows of graves intended to block the path of any priestly redeemer. According to ritual purity laws, no holy man could cross over the unclean ground of a graveyard. To the Sultan, it was checkmate, a final move to keep the Messiah out forever. But prophecy is not bound by the plans of men. In fact, the sealing of the gate was itself a confirmation of Ezekiel's vision. The gate was to remain closed until the Lord himself returned. So what was intended as prevention became, instead, preservation. For centuries after, the gate remained untouched. Empires rose and fell. Armies conquered Jerusalem, then lost it again. The Crusaders came and went. The British marched in. The Ottomans ruled. The Israelis returned, but the Golden Gate stayed shut. Other gates in Jerusalem's wall opened, closed, crumbled, and were rebuilt, but not this one. It stood still, frozen in time, its silence more commanding than any king's decree. That silence became a voice in itself, whispering across the centuries, wait. Yet time and again, attempts were made to destroy it. In 1917, plans were drawn to demolish the Golden Gate completely. But on the very day the demolition was to begin, British troops marched into Jerusalem during World War I, and the plan was abandoned. Coincidence, or something more? In 1967, after Israel captured the Old City during the Six-Day War, generals discussed reopening the gate. With bulldozers and explosives, they could have cleared it in a single day. But at that moment, a rabbi intervened, warning that prophecy declared only the Messiah could open the gate. And in a move that defied military logic, the army stepped back. The gate remained sealed. And now, for the first time in centuries, quiet whispers say something inside has begun to change. Not an explosion, not a demolition, not an official announcement. Instead, subtle movements, leaked photographs, shadows of figures praying within chambers once thought untouchable. The hum of whispered prayers inside a space that for nearly 500 years had been sealed in silence. What does it mean? Is it politics, archaeology, or prophecy stirring quietly, breathing again after centuries of waiting? The alignment of the gate tells its own story. Stand before the Golden Gate, and your eyes fall directly across the valley onto the Mount of Olives. That mountain is no ordinary hill. It is the place where Jesus prayed before his crucifixion. It is the place where he ascended into heaven. And according to the prophet Zechariah, it is the very place where the Messiah will return, where his feet will touch down, and the mountain will split in two, forming a valley that runs east to west. And what lies directly opposite that valley's entrance, the Golden Gate. This is no accident. This is not the work of human city planning. This is geography aligned with eternity. The gate and the mountain stare at each other like mirrors, locked in a silent conversation that has lasted for millennia. The gate waits, sealed and silent. The mountain waits, ready to split at the appointed time. And in between them stands the city chosen by God himself, Jerusalem. A city not merely ancient, but eternal. Wars rage, nations rise and fall, politicians argue, but the stones of this gate wait for one single moment, the return of the law. It is no wonder that rulers have feared it. The idea that one doorway could carry the weight of prophecy terrifies those who cling to power. And yet their attempts to prevent destiny have only confirmed it. A sultan's cemetery, a general's hesitation, a demolition plan halted all of it, has only deepened the mystery, strengthening the conviction that this gate does not belong to human hands. It is not waiting for archaeologists, armies, or politicians. It is waiting for the one it was built for. Think about it for a moment. The gate is not silent because it is empty. It is silent because it is listening. Every block, every stone hums with expectation. The graves before it whisper of death, but the prophecy they tried to block speaks of resurrection. The prayers now being whispered inside its chamber suggest that something long dormant is waking. It is not noise that signals prophecies, movement, but whispers. It is not bombs or bulldozers that change eternity, but quiet alignments that suddenly snap into place. The Golden Gate has become more than architecture. It has become a hinge of history. One side of it belongs to the past, to kings, empires, and armies that have tried and failed to control it. The other side belongs to the future, to destiny, to the promise that the Messiah will come, and nothing can prevent it. Right now, the gate is the boundary between eras, the line drawn in stone between what is and what will be. So what happens if the whispers are true? What if the chamber inside has truly been stirred? Prayers already rising from within. What if the silence of centuries is being broken, not by hammers, but by faith? Could we be witnessing the first subtle movements of prophecy breathing again? Could this be the beginning of the countdown? The Bible warns us that the return of the Messiah will come suddenly, like the days of Noah, when life went on as usual until the flood came. People will eat, drink, marry, and plan their lives as though history will never change until it does. And when it does, the gate will not open to cameras, politicians, or armies. It will open to one figure alone. And when that happens, history will not merely shift, it will end, and eternity will begin. The Golden Gate does not care about tourism. It does not care about politics. It does not exist for photographs or souvenirs. It exists as a divine lock, a silent witness, a testimony carved into stone. Every attempt to stop it has failed. Every plan to erase it has been interrupted. And now, its silence is beginning to hum again with the whispers of prayer. That hum feels alive, like the heartbeat of prophecy, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. Jerusalem has always been the epicenter of prophecy, the city that holds the promises of God. And at its heart lies this sealed gate, staring across at the Mount of Olives, waiting for the day when stones will give way not to armies, but to the King of Kings. Nations can argue, wars can rage, but prophecy does not bend to human will. It waits, it breathes, and one day it will be fulfilled. When you hear about what is happening at the Golden Gate today, the whispers, the leaks, the prayers, you cannot dismiss it as coincidence. The question is not if it will open, but when. And when it does, no historian, no politician, no skeptic will be able to explain it away. The stones themselves will testify. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe the whispers of movement inside the Golden Gate are just coincidence, or are they the first signs that prophecy is breathing again? Comment with the words, "The gate is waiting," if you've stayed with me until the end. And let's see how many of us are watching this together. Under the surface of Jerusalem's ancient stones, mysteries linger that stretch beyond human understanding, weaving history, prophecy, and the future into a single thread. The Golden Gate stands as the centerpiece of that mystery. But what few realize is that its story is inseparably tied to deeper layers of the city, hidden chambers, forgotten tunnels, and sacred alignments that have kept scholars and seekers awake for centuries. To speak of the gate without speaking of these connections is to see only half the picture. Because in Jerusalem, nothing exists in isolation. Every stone, every shadow, Every whisper in the air is tied to a prophecy waiting to unfold. Beneath the Temple Mount lies an underground labyrinth, an intricate network of passages that most of the world will never see. Archaeologists have long speculated that these tunnels connect key points of Jerusalem's prophetic geography, and some believe one of those connections links directly to the Eastern Gate. Could it be that the sealing of the gate above was not just about locking a door, but about concealing something below? Ancient rabbinic writings hint at hidden sanctuaries and secret chambers beneath the city, places where objects of immense spiritual importance were hidden away before Jerusalem's destruction nearly 2,000 years ago. Some traditions even suggest that the Ark of the Covenant, the very vessel of God's presence, may still lie concealed beneath the mount, awaiting the day when prophecy demands its unveiling. If this is true, then the Golden Gate is not just a sealed doorway to the East. It is a marker of alignment with something hidden, something preserved. For the final chapter of history, imagine for a moment what it would mean if the objects of Israel's past artifacts, of Solomon's temple, are resting in silence beneath the ground where the Messiah is prophesied to return. Could it be that the preservation of the gate is linked not only to prophecy written in Scripture, but also to treasures concealed in stone? Throughout the centuries, rulers and conquerors have sensed that Jerusalem carried a secret weight. Roman generals, Crusader knights, Ottoman sultans, British officers, all of them were drawn to the city, yet none could fully claim it. Why? Because Jerusalem does not belong to kings, presidents, or armies. It belongs to prophecy. And prophecy has never allowed the city to rest quietly. When men tried to tear down the gate, armies appeared. When men tried to reopen it, warnings from prophets halted them. When nations fought to control it, unseen forces turned the tides. This is not coincidence. This is orchestration. It suggests that history itself bends to protect what must remain untouched until its appointed hour. But it is not only the Golden Gate that whispers of this mystery. The Mount of Olives itself is a testimony carved in geography. Buried in its slopes are over 150,000 graves, stretching across its ridges like a silent congregation awaiting resurrection. For centuries, Jews have chosen this place to be buried because of their belief that when the Messiah comes, those resting here will be the first to rise. The view from their resting place faces directly toward the sealed gate. They lie in expectation, their very graves pointing toward destiny. What does it mean that even in death, generations align themselves with prophecy, waiting for the moment the gate will open? Even more astonishing is the connection between the Eastern Gate and the ancient sacrificial rituals of the temple. When the temple stood, a red heifer, sacrifice ritual described in the Book of Numbers, was performed outside the city wall on the slopes of the Mount of Olives. From that location, the priest could look directly through the Eastern Gate into the temple courts. That alignment was intentional, and it connected purification, sacrifice, and worship in a single line, stretching from the mountain, through the gate, into the holy place. This was not merely architecture. It was theology, inscribed in stone. Now, with new reports in recent years of red heifers being bred and brought to Israel once again, many are beginning to wonder if this ancient alignment is preparing to come alive once more. The whispers inside the gate are one thing, but whispers outside of it of sacrifices, of preparations for a third temple, carry a weight that cannot be ignored. The possibility of a third temple rising has always been one of the most controversial and anticipated events in prophecy. And yet, in quiet corners, groups are preparing. Instruments are being crafted. Priestly garments are being sewn. These are not fantasy. They are documented reality, and all of them point back to the same place, the Temple Mount, aligned directly with the Eastern Gate. If the gate itself is stirring, if prayers are rising within its chamber after centuries of silence, if sacrifices are being prepared once again, and if the Mount of Olives waits, filled with graves of expectation, then the world is standing at the edge of something colossal. These are not random fragments of history. They are puzzle pieces falling into place. Even the enemies of Israel seem to sense this. Throughout history, nations have sought to control Jerusalem, and today the battle for the city is fiercer than ever. The United Nations debates it, nations dispute it, and wars are fought over it. But the true battle is not political, it is spiritual. The sealing of the gate centuries ago was not simply an act of fear, it was a declaration of war against prophecy. And yet prophecy has turned every attempt to block it into another confirmation of its truth. The graves meant to stop the Messiah from coming are now silent witnesses to resurrection. The stones meant to keep him out are now the very proof that he alone can enter. The silence of the gate is not weakness, it is anticipation, and perhaps most mysterious of all is the timing. For centuries, the world was distant from prophecy, distracted by empires and revolutions. But now, in our generation, the attention of the world has turned back to Jerusalem. Every news cycle, every political summit, every headline seems to circle back to this city. Why now? Why, after thousands of years, is the fate of the world once again tied to this tiny piece of land? Could it be that the convergence of science wars in the Middle East, talk of peace agreements, unrest at the Temple Mount, the whispers of movement within the gate is pointing us to the final act? The prophets warned that in the last days, Jerusalem would become a cup of trembling to the nations, a stone too heavy for the world to carry. And is that not what we see today? Every negotiation falters, every conflict intensifies, every attempt at control slips through the fingers of government. Jerusalem resists human solutions because it was never meant to be resolved by men. Its destiny is divine. So what, then, are we to make of the Golden Gate's silence, now trembling with whispers of prayer? What are we to think when the very geography of the city aligns perfectly with the words of Zechariah and Ezekiel? What should we conclude when history has repeatedly bent itself to preserve one sealed doorway for a moment that has not yet come? These are not accidents. These are not coincidences. They are reminders that prophecy is alive, and it is moving, often in ways the world barely notices until it is too late. Just as the flood came in the days of Noah, while life went on as usual, so too, the return of the Messiah will arrive suddenly in a world unprepared. The Golden Gate does not wait for news broadcasts or declarations. It waits for the appointed moment. And perhaps that is the true mystery, that in our lifetime, in our generation, we may be closer than ever to seeing it happen. The gate has breathed with silence for nearly 500 years. But silence is not absence. Silence is preparation. And when silence breaks, it will not be with the voice of politicians, but with the sound of eternity opening its doors. Now, the question lingers in the air for every one of us. Will we be ready when the stones finally move? Will we recognize the moment when history ends and prophecy becomes present? Or will the world dismiss the whispers until the very day the silence shatters? If you reached this point, it means you are part of a small group that truly seeks to understand the mysteries that are unfolding before our eyes. Subscribe now so you don't lose access to these revelations that few are watching. Leave your like if you are still here, and, in the comments, write the phrase, "I am watching the signs, so I will know that you are among those who endure until the end." And don't stop here, because the next video that is appearing on your screen brings even more hidden details that almost no one talks about, and you can't miss it.